Two great armies, one great box. Spiky Bits. Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and we've got the new Hexfire box. So I had to drive to, seems like the ends of the earth on a very, very hot day. That's also why all the lights are not on right now, because it is hot. We don't need extra heat. Annie's upset. She's got a lot of complaints, cat complaints today, and well, everybody's just all sorts of out of it right now. But regardless, I think we've got we're going down. We are going down. We're going to take a look at the values in this box set here, and also build the Crowe and the Infernal Master. And, you know, if you can find it, it's great. But I got a couple ideas about when these are going to be out, and also how much these new characters are going to cost us individually. First up, let's go over to the website, take a look at the latest and greatest valuations on this box set right here. Now, these were allocated to 5 per store, at least here in the States. And there's probably a reason for that, and I might be letting the cat out of the bag a bit, but the case count on this is actually 5. So they literally grab one box off the shelf and boop, put it in the mail or through the warp to the game store, and that's basically how they're doing it. So it kind of makes sense, and it's more than one, which is what a lot of stores were seeing in the past, but it's kind of the maximum for the minimum effort I feel like Games Workshop can do, and, you know, keep those warehouse guys getting stuff out the door. Obviously everything is all gummed up in there. There's all sorts of monkey wrenches in the works, so at least they could do that for stores. I'm sure most stores would wish they had more. I wish I could get more, but it is what it is in 2021, and this is the new norm, unfortunately. So it's a $170 box, which was probably the evaluation that we expected from Pain and Piety, or Piety and Pain. I don't remember which is which anymore. And then, of course, it's got the 2 new characters. There was some early rumors that there would be one side would be completely new, but, you know, it didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense because, I mean, the Thousand Sons are from 2017, I believe. The Zangors, I think, might be 2015, 2014, and the Grey Knights are 2011. I mean, in GW terms, they're basically brand new, even though some are 10 or 5 years old, but whatever. So it didn't seem to make much sense that we see new minis when there's so many other minis out there that probably need new sculpts. Just ask any Eldar player; they'll tell you all about it. Believe me, and they're absolutely right. So valuation-wise, One Strike Squad $60, Nemesis Dread Knight $60, Castellan Crowe $35. I actually suspect these are going to, after seeing the sprues, that these are going to be more than $35, which is a slippery slope. It's definitely a slippery slope, because 35 was rough when and we'll talk about that here in the near future. But you know, just jumping up from $25 to characters to 35, and now potentially higher, and I'll show you why I think it's going to be higher here in a minute. I think it's going to be rough. So anyways, low end evaluation $155. Terminators for Thousand Sons $60, the Infernal Master $35. Again, I think it's going to be more than $35, but we'll just stick with $35 for now. Zangor Shaman $35, Zangors $44. You notice how they've been raising up basic troop prices that are not Primaris. Like we've seen Guard are $45 now, Admech are $44, Zangors are $44. I haven't looked at Space Marine Tactical again. I said that last video that I would check. I did not check. But if I had to guess, I'd probably say it's around $45. Somebody fact check me on that. But it's interesting how those are starting to creep up when traditionally we saw them around $30. And that was less than 5 years ago. So everything goes up. All hobbies are expensive. But it seems like we've got some, while we didn't get price increases per se this year, it seems like we have a little bit of price creep to kind of close the gap with the primary size model, so to speak. So valuation on Thousand Sons side, 174. Overall MSRP, 129. So you get a value about 159-ish, if assuming you can find it at 170. Some people get it for less still at their local game stores. Of course, you know, Amazon might have some. I imagine they're going for a premium, but we'll put up a link so you can at least check. And that's just basically the way it's going to go. So they're both stock full of useful units. We've shown you most of the stuff in the past here on the channel, so let's take a look at the box itself. So box set wise, it is about your normal size as you would expect right here. And you got nice artwork on, or not artwork, but in-game shots here with some really cool dope backgrounds. Looks like they use some of the Tyranid bits right there to make all that. I don't know what the little fuzzy, the little frizzy energy things are, but they look pretty cool. They definitely got their diorama game on point. Once you open it up, it isn't going to quite look like this. These books are actually underneath it, but I just went ahead and grabbed them out of there. So there is this book here that has some Crusade rules and things if you want to play them, a little bit of history on both of these guys right here, and then of course all the rules you need to play them in the game, because I'm not sure that exactly this was supposed to come out when the Codex books were out, and I'm not really going to get into this, but you know, it is something kind of cool that if you played either of these factions or you wanted to play them against each other, you definitely could. Then we get into the sprues. We'll show you more on the new sprues for the Infernal Master and Castellan Crowe, but as you can see right here, this is why I think they're going to be costing a little bit more, right? Because they are much larger size than the halvesy sprue that we've been accustomed to in the past, which is really, really interesting here. So this isn't something that can go in a clam pack and it's two different pieces. This is a larger chunk. It's going to have to go in a box, and boxes are expensive and costs are expensive. So I would be very surprised if this came out and this was $35. And then the Infernal Master is on here too. Separate sprue, but you know, got lots of slices. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to go together yet until we take a look at the instruction manual. But other stuff in here, the Strike Squad sprue, you've probably seen this before. It's been around since 2011. There's two of those, and they pretty much can make any of the, well, the fast attacks, the purgation squads, the strike squads, the interceptor squads. There's all sorts of stuff you can make with this. There's two of them in here, so you can get 10 Duders out of it, which I guess is just one squad. Then the Zangors that we've seen in the past, two sprues of those, and there's the upgrade sprues to make them the 40k versions, of course. This stuff we have showed you too. The Zangor Shaman on disc. So that's basically why I was saying that I think this is going to be more, because you're going to have to put it in a different package to sell that. And the Scarab Occult Terminators. Now, when did these come out? I think these were 2017. 2016. Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. So it's been about 5 years on that, 10 years on the Grey Knights themselves, because those were 2011. So that kind of makes sense. So we're kind of in between these a little bit right there. And then last but not least is the Dread Knight. And the reason I say that for last is because this is probably one of all the models that kind of shows its age the most. While it is cool, it's, you know, it's 4 inches tall, very, very cool. It's not as posable as I think a lot of people would like, you know, because they were just kind of getting their sea legs underneath them for how to, you know, kind of do all this stuff. You can magnetize a lot of the weapons, but unfortunately you're going to be stuck needing more of these parts here to do the actual shooting weapons. But you can put the top bits onto it. You just need one of these parts here. And I think I showed you in a magnetizing guide how to do that. But if you, one of the things you can pick up is from Pop Goes the Monkey. They sell this upgrade set of bits right here, which is called Carlos, the baby carrier Carlos. And what this will do is you can actually use this on top of the plastic kits over there and kind of give it a different bit of a look and make it a little bit more dynamic. You can twist more at the waist and things like that. And it's got some tabards that hang down. Also, this new bit right here is for the front. So you can kind of twist it and turn it. Oh, and some extra armor plates too. And the head's pretty dope as well. So it's a very, very cool kit. I think this goes for about $30 of monkey resin. And if you want it in the Shapeway super high fine detail frosted plastic EIEIO, I think that's around $50, which $50 is a little rough. I can definitely get on board with the $30 because the kit's already like 60 something, I feel like, at that point. Alright, so quick instructions. Let's take a look here. So they're going to show you all the base sizes, all the sprues and things you get in here. You do get 2 of the Zangor accessory sprues there. Castellan Crowe looks to go together pretty much easily. Like, it looks like there's just some legs on the bottom. They don't have that stupid greave thing on the front. Front and back, some book, cape, arms. Looks like the magazine goes in separately, which kind of makes sense. Shoulder pads. Arms. This is pretty traditional assembly for a figure. 2 different head options. I'm not sure if you can swap those out or not, but we'll definitely check it. And the banner is actually part of the backpack, which I like. And of course, it's embossed too, so you don't have to worry about having to do all those designs. And then it comes to some of the other stuff here, like the Nemesis Dread Knight. We'll just kind of flip through it because, like I said, it's a bit older. We showed it to you in the past, but something I do want to draw your attention to is if you do want to magnetize it, you can. Remember, you just need this single bit in here, and some of these other things are what you want to magnetize. It's a little bit tricky, but you can do it, and you can also magnetize the arms right here for the different, whether it's the hammer or the dread sword right there too. So a little bit of options, but you can. Then the Strike Squad, well, there's all sorts of different ways to make it. Like I said, Inceptor, Purgation, Purifier, and Strike Squad. They're going to show you how to make all of that and all the different options. It doesn't come with... I didn't think it came with all of the... Maybe it does. Maybe it does now. I have to check. But I didn't think it came with all the weapons. I thought it came with one each. We'll have to check, because I don't remember it coming with all those weapons on the sprue there. And then we get to the Infernal Master. And basically what I would definitely recommend, if you're going to make Strike Squads, just magnetize the backpack, because then you can kind of jump between backpack or Strike Squads and Interceptor Squads. And really, once you have that done, the only other thing you have to kind of worry about is the different weapon loadouts, depending on what you want to do. Like if you want the Purifier Squad, you need the halberds. But the Strike Squad can kind of take whatever. So, you know, it's kind of tough. I feel like there isn't a whole lot of options as far as magnetizing the weapon arms. In the past, mine weren't. I just had the single builds, and I would magnetize between the backpacks so I could make them Strike Squads or Interceptor Squads. The Infernal Master kit, well, let's jump to that, and then go ahead and start building these. It looks like the arms, it's a little bit more of a sliced kind of model, and they've got this thing back here with the cape, which is always a little dicey, but I feel like it would definitely work. Front goes on, leg goes on, arms go on, random cape slice, shoulder pad, and then the head. There's only one head option. It looks like it's got some horns. Backpack, I don't know what this thing is. Oh, I guess it's the little back of the cape. So the cape is actually 3 different bits. That's definitely something you're going to want to use that super thin glue for, so you're able to fill those gaps and it doesn't look all like very pronounced and things like that. But I mean, overall, he's very dynamic looking and very cool looking. So I think the only thing I could see really kind of screwing things up is attaching the swoosh to these little mini screamers and then getting that to all work right. I feel like that might be a little bit of a stumbling block, but we'll find out here in a minute. And then the rest of the Occult Terminators, which we showed you in the past. A bit of a segue here real quick. While I was building those models, I thought of 2 things that was important to mention. So I wanted to backtrack to that real quick. So I know I showed you this chunk of resin that was Dread Knight upgrade set, and it was dawned on me. I was like, people aren't going to understand what that even looks like. So I figured I'd pull it up and show you real quick what it will look like on plastic. And this is it. We did an article on it, and you can kind of see in the colorized version right here what it's going to look like when combined with the plastic bits. That is the frosted plastic, high quality bits there. I showed you the monkey resin version. We just happen to have one here, and then that's what it looks like installed onto the actual plastic kit. So pretty dope looking. As you can see, it's a lot more dynamic. You can do a little bit more with it. I like the shoulder pads a little bit more personally, but that's just to taste, of course. So it's just a neat little way. If you feel like sprucing up an older model, or maybe using this as a Grandmaster, it would definitely do the trick. Now, something else I was thinking about too, price point wise, that seemed to make a little bit more sense, at least when I talked it over with myself. There is already a number of recent models that are $40, and I thought about it, and Crowe is a special edition character, or special, named character too. So chances of Crowe being $40, probably pretty high. Drazar's 40, Janzar's 40. Who's the other dude that came out with them? Oh, the Lilith. Lilith is also 40. So a lot of recent characters are $40. Will that mean the Infernal Master is 40? I don't know, because it's technically not a named character, I guess. But chances are it is $40. Oh, and by the way, one last thing. We'll get back to the models. Space Marine Tactical Squad, $49 US. So while that seems to be a high price for Space Marines in general, because I'm sure a lot of us remember the days when they were 25, and that wasn't the actual kit. The kit that's out right now is from 2013. And I remember it being a little bit higher, but not quite $49. So it's all starting to make sense. While some of the newer kits, Primaire size, you know, stuff like I imagine some of the Orc Beast Nagas, and if I had to guess, I would say the Death Cores are going to be around $50, give or take, maybe even anywhere between $50 and $60 for that squad of 10 dudes. But just keep that in mind. Always vote with your hobby dollars. Hey, if it's worth it to you, scoop it up. You know, if it's not, then you know maybe pass on it till it comes out separately. I think this release of these special characters as single kits, because we know they're going to come out as single kits. GW always does. Generally 4 to 6 months later, they put them out. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, hey, what could they possibly put out that they could put these out at the same time? And then it dawned on me, they could put out the combat patrols. Because so that, you know, like they did with the sister combat patrol came basically a third wave in 9th edition was just the combat patrol, the 2 special character box, and the priest and the banner waver, and then the tank. But they also, you know, could have put out single characters at that point. So if they put out the combat patrols for both of these, which there are pictures in their codex, I'm not going to spoil it for you yet, but we will do a post breakdown on them. Very similar to what comes in this box set, but not exactly the same. If that ends up being it, they could put these out separately at the same time, maybe around the holidays. I would imagine 3 to 4 months from now. So be looking out for that. Something I wanted to mention about Crowe. He actually ended up being the harder one, but not by much, not much at all to put together. This slice up here, when you're doing this, it is a little bit tricksy because there's an actual gap, and you want to line it up, but it doesn't make sense to you, well, at least to my brain, how this lined up. So just keep in mind, this is going to go over here on this notch, and there's going to be a gap, and then you're going to have this flat area where this book goes, and then probably what a better thing to do would be to actually put the leg on here and then glue the front plate on so you know where to line up the back plate. And that would, I didn't do that, but it took me a minute to look at it and figure it out. This cape goes on very tight, and I recommend putting the cape on first here and then putting the Stormbolter on, because the Stormbolter has to actually line up. The feed right below the ejection port lines up with these bolters coming from the cape, presumably from his backpack. So if you just keep an eye out for those 2 things right there, and it'll make assembly a lot easier. All the rest of it goes together pretty swimmingly. There is 2 different head options, which I definitely thought was pretty neat about the kit. And let's take a look at the models themselves. So first up is going to be the Infernal Master, and what I like about this, how GW segmented this design out, I thought it was pretty neat, because these little bits are actually attached to this piece of terrain right here, and it was super easy to put together. There's a little piece of rock that goes into there, and then this actually isn't glued at all. It's almost tension fit into this little swoosh over here, the Zinchi swoosh. Just do it. And it locks right in, and then you can actually paint this separate and pull off the model, which I just have on here with a little bit of blue tack. Some stuff you want to be aware of is the cape is 3 parts, so you want to use your super thin Tamiya glue, and I talk about this a lot, and you can get it in links in the description and of course in the comments. This stuff is a lifesaver because it gets in there and it seals those gaps up, which I think definitely makes it, you know, not look kind of buster, for lack of a better term, but everything else goes together pretty well. You can kind of see where, you know, some of the mold lines are going to be and such. I just cleaned off the burrs. I didn't necessarily clean up the mold lines, but you're going to see them in there. But it's got a lot of depth, very dynamic model, a lot going on in here. You know, this is a bit to cover up the shoulder pad gaps. This is a bit to you know, cover up the shoulder arm gaps. So everything's pretty well hidden except for this big gnarly gap right here, which I used a lot of that super thin glue to kind of fill in. Now, how's he compared to some other miniatures out there you might be more familiar with? Well, here is the Changeling, the newer Changeling, and you can see that it's a little bit bigger, but he's still on a 40 mil base. It's still pretty chunky, so I would say he's more on the scale with like an Occult Terminator or Scarab Occult Terminator. Here is how he compares to a Primaris Marine. So yep, definitely very chunky, very almost a Chaos Lordy status. And then here's how he compares to the Lord of Death himself, another $40 miniature that I don't remember if he's 1 sprue or not, but yeah, he is a chonker. And then that just leaves us with Crowe, and here he is. And man, this is such a dynamic, such a cool sculpt. He's got this big notch on his foot back here that locks in, and then just a little bit of blue tack here, so you can, you know, definitely don't want to glue him down, so you can paint the terrain separate. Don't forget, around these areas on both of these bases, you can use a little bit of that Liquitex resin sand, which I think I don't have it close, but I've talked about it in the past, and what that's going to do is it's going to build up that base and not create any gaps between the plastic terrain bits and the base itself, which I think is pretty dope. And then you can just dry brush it, whatever texture you want to use or something like that. You can use the G-Dub paints, or you can just, you know, paint it to match the rest of this, and it fills it in really, really nice and kind of builds up a base around it. So it doesn't look like it just goes unnaturally flat for some reason. Like he's not, these guys aren't on plinths, you know, on the tabletop, like they're on terrain. That's just my 2 cents though. And here you can see how the feed goes in right below the ejection port. I thought at first it went in there, and then I was like, wait, that makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, it clears it and it looks really good. There is this weird dichotomy, or I don't know what happened, that's not even the right word, but there's this gap in his shoulder area. So just be a little aware of that, because to get this to lock in, it didn't seem to line up right there. But it's very, you know, once you get paint on it, it's just gonna look like a shadow. It still locks in, it still glues on the areas it needs to. It's just it might be just a weird little thing that might happen. I don't think it was, maybe I just shaved off too much. I'm not exactly sure there, but keep an eye on it when you do it. And the heads, they are swappable. You can just plug them in. Just make sure they're looking the right way. But depending on which one you go with, we went with the helmeted, more traditional version. And then here's how he matches up to some of the other models out there. We got Trajan, that is basically a Primaris. They never even technically said it's Primaris, but you know, they knew Primaris were coming when they started sculpting the Custodes. Wow, how did I get them mixed up? But definitely on scale with him. And then here's how he matches up to the Infernal Master. So the Infernal Master is still a little bit of a chonk, but he's definitely a Primaris size chonk. And Mephiston, very cool. Almost the same size-ish. What else do we have here? Oh, just a normal Primaris duder, so he's gonna be bigger than that for sure. So very, very cool. And I love how the banner up here has that embossing on it, so you don't have to worry about painting any freehand or anything like that. But for the most part, everything goes together super swimmingly, super easy, and that level of detail and that much craftsmanship is just, it's why we keep buying these models. It's what sets GW apart from everyone else. So that is it for this one, y'all. Thank you very much for watching our unboxing build of the special characters, at least, for the new Hexfire box. Like I said, it's going to be hard to find out there, but don't worry, they will put these characters out separately. If it's worth it to you, vote with your hobby dollars. Pick up this box if you can find it. But if you can wait, hey, I think that's probably the better option out there. I haven't dug through the rules and see if any of these guys are must-haves, but Crowe already has a rule, and there's a million sorcerers out there. So I feel like you could probably just use either of those right now, currently, until the models are actually released themselves. So that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our videos.